Here we go. We're gonna get started in the fun stuff. This is Graveyard Media's video.
Um,
The
okay.
yeah,
Can you stream your browser to this voice
yeah.
chat? Because otherwise I'm gonna have to unmute the stream, and I don't want to have to listen to myself.
Yeah. I got you.
All right, let's go.
Okay. So this is Graveyard. We're gonna get started here. This is Graveyard Media's the brilliant, evocative, wonderful, incredible, very good writing of Yick. This video was one of the first videos to talk about Yick. Uh, it came out March 15th, so a good what is that? Month, 2 month? I don't know how time works. Anyways, a little while after the game had come out, after some of the controversies that started brewing up, um, we're going to watch this video and then their second video, and then we're going to move on to other videos. Um, you may have read my YouTube title card at this point and seen that I said how Graveyard Media was wrong about Yick. That was just clickbait. I am gonna go over what they're incorrect about here, but it's not. I'm not objective, really. Like I don't think that I'm the only person who's allowed to have a take on Yick or whatever.
Absolutely.
Um, but I do think they critically miss some things, or uh, personally, kind of like maybe misconstrued some things, didn't notice something, and it's like, well, that might be the fault of the game or the environment around the game. I'm not faulting them for not understanding. I'm just trying to take this moment as, hey, this
Hey,
this is what you missed. Check it out. This is
you
cool.
gonna tell me why Yick is the best game ever?
I'm gonna kick you out of the call, Joe, because you still haven't finished the game. Damn, I got him.
Wow, that's so mean.
I love you, Joe.
I
You haven't
hovered
finished it
over
either.
the gaming
Um,
voice channel, and I like because how Discord like embeds its like rich present stuff. There's something really funny to me about hovering over and seeing "Listen to Spotify, Run the Jewels" by Run the Jewels on Run the Jewels.
if you haven't finished the game, we'll probably get into spoilers. Just gonna warn you.
Yeah,
Just because like it's kind of the way the game is written. It's pretty intertextual. It has metaphors on metaphors on metaphors, layers deep, and like to like understand why some things are the way they are. Uh, you kind of have to talk about some spoiler things. It's an unfortunate reality that we all live in, and we can't just top realities like Vela. All right, so we're gonna get started here. I'll since I'm making content off of them, I will subscribe to Graveyard Media.
Who talks like that?
I'm sure they're fine people.
Honestly, I thought that was
Hopefully.
Vela, but I think he just actually thinks that people talk like that. As much as like I was
Was this
expecting
video
it to be
not the
like
first one? I'm pretty sure this was
horribly
the first one.
cringe, like he's constantly being goofy TM. It's just like really bad fucking janky writing that just
Oh, you're
doesn't
not
feel
screen
natural
sharing.
or good.
Oh, did my screen share stop? Oh, it's because I kicked him out of the chat. Sorry.
It's because you moved the chair.
I can explain this shirt. He made a previous game called Two Brothers, which currently has mostly negative reviews on Steam. Pretty presumptuous reference to put into this game when everyone hated it.
So I don't understand that point. If I made a game and I made a sequel or, a second game, why wouldn't I put references to my first game in it?
I did that. I do that in Spirit Dreamers, and no one has an issue with that.
People do it all the time with all of their games, and it's not a real issue. But it is a bit of characterization for Alex. See, Two Brothers is this kind of obscure indie RPG. And whenever he talks about games, he doesn't talk about, Michael will talk about classic RPGs, Lufia 2, Chrono Trigger.
Here we
Legend of
go with
Mana.
Michael.
But Alex doesn't talk about those. He's like, yeah, that's all pretty cool. But have you heard about Two Brothers? Hey, I'm a hipster. I'm into indie games. It's not really like a turn-based RPG. It's one of those ARPG kind of things. And the kicker is Alex has only played like the beginning of Two Brothers, and he doesn't really understand the story. He just sees it as this kind of deep, meaningful thing because it talks about death. It's like, oh, edgy. This is Persona 3, you know?
They're putting their guns to their heads.
They're putting guns
So
to their
friggin'
heads.
cool.
This is great. So it's one of those, okay, yeah, it's a reference to their game, and their game didn't do good. Haha.
The
Knowing
torture
of
you've
the
been through.
strange-
Boo-hoo, you played a game you don't like.
Yeah, that, first off, bad. This is not how people talk, and it's not actually good writing, because it's not prose that is interesting. It does.
Okay, this is the point of this video. It's not prose
Yeah.
that is interesting. This writing is really bad. Alex, I don't know if this person missed the detail, but Alex is a liberal arts major. Maybe he's not quite, adept to writing prose that is interesting.
Oh man.
But it's the reason why it's goofy. It really is just goofy writing. I think it's funny every time I play through the game and listen to it. I'm like, this is just funny, right? Because he's thinking he's really profound, right? He thinks he's saying something important.
Nobody talks like this. Well, yes, that's true, because he's not talking.
Yeah, it's his internal monologue. It's him like making the situation really important, playing it up, being really grandiose, and it's like, yeah, he sounds like a fucking dork. Because he's a dork. What do you want?
Doesn't evoke any feelings. You're just using words. If you're going to be prosy, you have to evoke feelings.
Give some examples, like, oh, this store didn't used to be here, or wow, I haven't had to go out to get groceries for my mom in years. Like,
Yeah.
like do something to explain
Yeah,
it. Don't
yeah.
just
He doesn't care about what his mom wants him to do. Like, I'm just going to tell you that right away.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. He doesn't want, he's avoiding going to the grocery store. In fact, there's not a grocery store in Frankton.
Not this Frankton, anyway.
Right. So it's like, he's so avoiding it, it doesn't exist in his reality at this moment.
Outcry, you're offline.
Oof. Sorry, apparently we went offline there for a second. But yeah, they were saying that he,
Outcry, you're still... Okay, there we go.
they were saying that he's, talk about what's going on in the world, and it's like, well, from Alex's perspective, this is the most important thing right now. It's not the grocery store. He doesn't care about what his mom is having him do.
Or like, wow, look at this playground. I remember not growing since I was a kid. Remember Night in the Woods? Night in the Woods is a good game. Oh, shit.
yeah.
What the fuck does this
I
sentence
still haven't
mean?
played Night in the Woods.
Hey, why?
He wants to fuck that tree. Oh, so you talk things over? You're that kind of guy? I don't know if this is supposed to be a joke or not.
So, like, that is a really important character moment for Alex, in my opinion. He thinks that his introspectiveness, where he's making this prose, is important. And he's like, oh, so you're really reflective, huh? When he's, like, making up a fictional friend. Making up somebody to make himself seem cooler. He really does think he's super cool. But all of us, we see this and we're like, dude, you're lame as fuck.
What
Why
does
are we
that have
going
to
on
do-
about this cat? Well, I mean, okay, I can understand a little bit of hesitance when it comes to a cat. Like, if you've never had a pet cat, which I have not, like, have friends that I would go over to their house and there'd be cats. I'm like, oh, I want to pet them. But I'd sit there and be like, well, should I pet their head? Should I pet their stomach? Like, is this cat gonna immediately maul me in the face? I don't know. And I could be a little hesitant. But I know that cats like to be pet.
I just want to
I
point
just don't
out
know
that
how.
that
Not all cats like being pet. I gotta fact check that real fast.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
all cats like
I
Big
also
Ben.
just want to I just want to say every time I see this video, I remind of the fact that I don't know who these guys are, but the one with the lower pitched voice sounds kind of like Matt Pat.
A little bit, yeah.
That example that you gave was a much more interesting and visually evocative piece of prose than anything in this entire game, and that was entirely off the cuff.
Oh yeah, because I'm human. I don't think this person who wrote it was.
So his coarse hair ran through my fingers as he purred. This
Are you
sentence-
petting a love interest?
Wow, this is so much worse than I thought it would be. I thought it was just going to be like, Lamau, it's so quirky. And
Okay.
It's like,
They are really going in on a few lines of dialogue. This is ridiculous, in my opinion.
like terrible fan fiction of Twilight kind of
Yeah,
style.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Vibrating with motion.
Vibrating.
There it is.
Okay.
The funny.
They're they're laughing, and I think that's the point, and then they're gonna act like, no, there's no way he meant for this to be a funny line. How do you think a person writes this and doesn't go, this is really funny?
With
Hold on a goddamn second. I sighed as the elevator began to shake, vibrating with motion. That
My
is three
dude.
different words for the
same fucking
thing.
thing.
My dude.
God, you're not as good at writing as you think. In fact, I'm gonna say you're not good at all. You're doing a very bad job at it right
I'm gonna keep throwing words until eventually I sound very eloquent.
Why are you freaking out if it came to a smooth stop? And what do you mean unexpected?
You just
Elevators
expected
do
it to
that.
go on forever?
Yeah, my guy, what?
Oh god, she's just like him. She narrates it out loud as well.
I want to point out, games with a lot of text are kind of my shit. I love CRPGs, and usually those are very prose heavy. The reason that I'm bored with this man's prose is not because it is prose, it is because it is some of the worst I have read in a video game.
Oh look, it's us playing this game.
No, please stay.
Really,
Getting
honestly.
closer to
It's been
him.
pretty lonely here.
No.
Although, now that I reflected on it, facial hair
What?
was not exclusive to male
What?
animals.
Why are you going? Did you stop? Stop.
Why are you going into detail about this? Wait, what do you mean not being able to see your face?
Oh,
What? Yeah, what?
so they think this is a weird line? That's an important line. That is an important line for lore. Like, this is the thing about this game and the way it's written. This weird line, it's weird on purpose. And people are going to go, but this is just weird. Yes, lore. So this is a hint towards the reality that Alex never met Semi. There's a bunch of hints at the beginning of this game that point to Alex never went in, or even if he went into the factory hotel, it doesn't matter. He didn't have this adventure and meet this character and then couldn't save her, and that starts his journey. He makes it up. He's exaggerating everything. It's a story from his perspective, and he's trying to tell you it as cool as possible. And so he couldn't see her face, but you can see her face. It's right in front of you. Well, that's because he wasn't there to see her face. And you look at the elevator video later on Onizem, and you don't see her face. It's because he's basing her off of that video that he saw.
Hold up, what?
Hold on, did she like turn her face and her hair curtained over her face? Has she just been Slender Man this entire time? You
Have
need
we
to
not?
elaborate on some things.
Yeah, listen, man, you're elaborating on
And
the
then
wrong
not
thing.
elaborate on other things.
Got a special spot for gingers.
Oh god, no. No, I'm not accepting this part.
Hey,
I'm
careful
not.
with that word. That is our word.
What's
That is the
No! No!
It's
no!
just funny. I don't know.
No!
You know what? That treasure just can go suck my dick. I don't care. I'm going to eat the fire.
Man, seeing the scene without the water fountain and vending
Going to
machine,
eat
By
the-
always
extinguisher?
weird.
I'm going to eat the fire.
There isn't even a water fountain
I will
there.
throw a cat. the door. They
There's
will
a save
not-
telephone in the vending
They have
machine,
the
not a water
directions
fountain.
To be entertained, I'm going to go in this direction to open.
To be fair,
Imagine
it's
not
the
knowing
most
this, how
entertaining
correct?
part
Come
of
on.
this entire goddamn. Oh, you know what? This is actually very,
Sorry.
very
It's not every
inspirational.
day I meet a girl who lives in
Anyone
this
can make a
factory.
game.
Yeah.
Anyone.
But do you actually live here?
Yes. We've gone over this. Just please, just skip. Just skip. Just
Yeah.
go. Just go. I don't want.
Just me, but usually Dolly's better about keeping me company, you know? He's always just
I thought Dolly
running
was a
off to
she.
God knows where.
What?
Yeah.
There's another one.
What could that mean?
They don't know how to write, and it's like, no, it's hinting at something. It's always hinting at something. It's never just this weird line of dialogue because they forgot what they wrote before.
Wait! We had this long conversation where you established that Dolly was a she, and now you're just getting Dolly's
Yeah,
pronouns wrong.
herself.
And like,
Hold on.
and not
let's
only that,
let's
but like,
look at the next dialogue option real quick to make sure that it's not like a wait. I thought Dolly was a girl.
yeah,
kind of
let's
thing.
do it.
You're supposed to be the one thinking
No,
that.
stop drawing the attention to
Nope.
it. That was a legitimate
It's just a
fuck
typo.
up. Just a
Alright.
typo.
Just a typo.
Just a
Just
typo.
a typo.
Just
Just
a
a typo.
Yes,
Just a typo.
this is what happens for a lot of people. They spot the hints, they go, "That's weird," and then they go, "Oh well, they're wrong.
Must have been an oversight.
Was trying to
They're
escape
bad
from
writers."
Someone who'd found refuge in her cat.
Why are you
The only thing
fabricating this entire? Why would you have a reason to fuck? All right, you know what?
And there's another hint.
They
She
came close.
did you see how she almost said exactly what's happening?
Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy, right? But then they're like, "No, that's not what's happening." This hint tells you he's making this all up, and like she gets it, but she doesn't get he's making it all up.
Yeah.
Listen,
Sure,
I am
whatever.
very
You can have your
smart.
fantasy.
This is a woman.
I went to college.
I went to college. Also, I feel like he's fabricating this like a realistic scenario when he found her on a tree floating in space. That doesn't make much sense. I feel like I would take everything she
You know
said.
what?
I wonder
forgot
what
about
that means.
Yeah, what the fuck? Why are you even bother? She could be a figment of your imagination right now. Come on.
She could be fucking fairy, my guy.
As if the curtain lifted on reality.
Maybe these
exposed the
people
man
do know what
upstairs.
Yick's about.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Not Santa was real.
You've said
Couldn't
the
get
same
into
three
words
things
why
in
I
incredibly
understood.
boring ways,
Something
my
had
friend.
changed inside of me. It wasn't meant to be seen.
Yeah, you already said that literally
In that moment,
50
I was
times.
a
Yeah.
child finding a magazine meant to
Oh
end
You're
my
my
saying
God.
the
life.
same
Stop.
stop.
I was both intrigued.
We get it.
I will
You were
admit
saying-
this
Please
this
stop.
monologue is a bit excessive.
Yeah.
Is that a fucking indicator? Is that a go reflect on your life station?
Go in the fucking corner.
What
Go in your
is
corner. This is what you get.
I
for
do
wanting
think
to
the
fuck a
reflect
dead
prompt is
woman.
hilarious.
Talking a lot
It
about
is.
stuff, like,
It's
like
so good.
waxing poetry on it isn't the problem. The problem is he's saying the same exact thing
Yeah.
5 or 6 different times. But you don't sit there and talk about her hair for 50 million years saying the exact same thing. Like
Yeah.
her hair is
It
long.
it might be a
Balance
bit
does.
Her hair was
It-
long, like the.
it might
Her
be
hair
excessive,
was
but I think it
as
is
long as a
perfectly in
ribbon.
line to show
Her
his
hair was
obsession.
like a flag. Her hair was
Because
like
they
the
don't have a lot of
sky, that's
time
how
to
long it
really
was.
show
Like,
you
he didn't
how
do that.
Long as the
obsessed he
vines
is
of the
before
jungle, the waves of the ocean,
even like pushing that onto
Wind,
other people and like
the
making a journey
sky's
out of it.
Infinite reach, the length of this sentence, and black
And
as ebony,
long.
night, obsidian, moonlight's white,
Darkness.
shadow, the hedgehog,
Oh god, I don't like this angle.
Confused, out of
the
breath.
dick angle.
I tossed my way to the couch.
No, you didn't. You fucking walked around the house for half an hour.
Yeah,
Mother
fucking
still
don't
was
lie to
telling
me.
that
Why
the
does this
child
matter? You're
was supposed to
reflecting on
be
someone's
told
death,
patience
right?
with
Why are you talking about your mom?
I recognize these specific.
First off, she didn't die, but also this becomes important later when he brings in his dad. Obviously, that's the whole thing. Is he doesn't feel like he has a parental figure in his life, so he just conflates the details of both of them and kind of puts them as one thing because they're both never there anyway. So what's the difference?
shots from the trailer, right? And these shots did not have any of the text over them. I feel like the reflection would have worked really well if it was just the same thing it was in the trailer. You know, panicking about
Press tab.
setting tone,
Press tab.
using the medium effectively.
I love playing
I
this
don't
game with
feel
tab on.
anything right
You
now.
press tab
Press
and then
tab.
it disappears.
Oh,
The text
no,
boxes
'cause he's
disappear,
just
and it
decided
like
to
really
suddenly start
immersive.
Talking about her mom, like why? Why?
That was the
What,
whole fucking the reflection on.
It's
the lady's
also
death.
this also line points it like. Yeah, if you play the game long enough, then the intent's real obvious. I do feel, you know, we say that. You, me, we could say this. Me and everyone else, we could say this. But the problem is it still doesn't work for some people. Like, we feel the intent's real obvious. It's goofy. It's fun. But somehow people still see some kind of malicious thing in it. Or that it's really bad for some reason.
was him sitting there.
I
thinking
think that it might be because people try to conflate what people write with them as a person.
about his mom.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything about the lady's death, actually.
This man, like, you can still read Alex's voice in all of these people who aren't Alex.
So here's like the grand theory, like kind of what's going on in this moment in reality and not in the story of Yik. So like instead of going out and going and getting groceries or going outside at all, maybe he just sat at home and then fucked off, watched TV, whatever, and then goes and thinks, "Ah, man, I didn't do the thing that my mom wanted me to do. Here's about my mom, you know, she's a really good person, whatever." Which gets funny when you consider a later scene where he blows off of his mom. And then he goes and checks on him and finds this crazy mystery that he involves and makes his life. And then he goes and dreams about it, and that's the whole factory hotel. Because if you look at the scene where you get Panda, it's actually Alex's room, but everything's in boxes, like he just moved back from college.
Whatever. Just go. Just go. Just go.
Why didn't you go back?
Honestly, this is one of those things that could have worked really, really well if you would shut the fuck up and just show.
From a lack of humanity
Show.
inside of her vessel.
You don't need to
and
tell.
unconscious from a
Oh, the show Don't Tell is so fun because there's so many things that are shown that people overlook. And it's hard to just go in and describe all of them, especially in these shorter videos that Graveyard Media did. When we get to longer videos, probably to Snake Horrors, we'll probably get into that pretty big with him, and like I'll probably explain a lot more of it than I am now with him. But also, I'm trying to think who else. Maybe Jack Saint. Jack Saint's next. He might have some more that we can talk about where it is showing things and not just telling.
See going to her
that.
circuits.
We have
Look, the low
eyeballs.
electric-
Please.
Kill me. It's okay, I'm not
Do it.
looking. Do it.
My toast is more interesting and has more flavor than this fucking story.
Damn.
Intimate
No,
about
no, 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 no. No, 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 no. It's getting worse, though. It's getting worse.
I prefer RPGs, similar to Final Fantasy.
You ever wonder why the cars can't actually hit him no matter what angle you come
I
at?
love Earthbound, Mother 2.
Because then we'd have more golden alpaca.
No, because Alex sees himself as like untouchable.
God! You were making the joke.
Stop!
Ever played Two
Wow.
Two Brothers?
You mean that game that got mostly negative reviews on Steam because it was garbage?
It's a terrible name for a game, though.
It's a terrible game for a game, though.
So that line is really funny because the Ack did not want to call Two Brothers Two Brothers. It was just suggested to him. And again, this has been the critical failure of Ack for a minute, is they take even the most passing suggestion to heart and like really go, you know, maybe they have a point, and they try to address it in some way. So they called it Two Brothers, and they were like, no, that's That's why the remake is going to be called Chromophore, because they're like, no, that's the name of the game. That's what the game is about. So the line, "That's a terrible name for a game," is kind of this little jab at the fact that they didn't even like the name of the game.
I want to point out that I am horribly offended by his representation of goth culture. I am offended by the fact that goth culture is represented in this shit game. It doesn't deserve it.
I want to see combat with Michael in the party.
Alright, fuck.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I take it
I
back.
do want to admit something. The original combat was not great. I enjoyed it, but the new combat is so much better. Hands down. There's still some faults and bugs with it, and I'm 100% sure they're working to fix them. But the original combat, wasn't amazing.
No more combat ever.
But yeah, this man is like literally unkillable. But however, I can also be unkillable, so like, this is some game design, man. This is some real good game design.
Oh, he's dead. Decided to take.
So I find that one's really funny. I know a lot of people struggle with that fight because it's not exactly told very well what you're supposed to do. But I think it's a good kind of... it kind of sets up the message of the game. Here's a fight that you can't win by just bashing your head against and being the main character. You have to think outside of that. You have to literally back out of the fight. You can't win it at this point. You need to grow. You need to do something else before you can tackle these problems. And it's like, wow, they kind of give you the entire message of the game in one fight, but it's overlooked because
Bad game design.
Bad game design.
Take a
Bye,
dead nap.
bitch.
Well, I guess you're just supposed to
find him
run.
again.
What?
One thing I find really funny is that I first heard about you from the
Think about
From
this
the
very much
Heartbeat
to the
Discord
entire
server.
game.
I just expected you to run immediately from the enemy.
that I'm assuming Hellcry, you know about the heartbeat thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I first found out about it there before it came out that the developers were horrible people, and they were like shitting on the game. The developers of Heartbeat were shitting on Yik in the general chat, and I was like, "Damn, this game looks horrible." Oh, how the tables have turned.
That's rough. That's rough.
Yeah, let's just keep going.
No, dude, what happened? Dude, I don't even know what happened.
Pictures?
But what?
Robin's favorite line.
Oh, that one bounces.
Oh, they skipped it.
They skipped it. No.
This thing's digital, baby. Yo, they almost made a basket. That's insane.
Got it out of the corner.
We've never seen one of those.
This is the most fun I've had with this game so far.
Yeah, that's how you get the third
I knew
ending.
I had to tell him. I knew that now was the time. That he was ready to hear what I had to say. That I was going to tell him the thing that I was going to say. That the time was right for me to
These
say
people
the
are
thing that I
aggressively
told
agreeing with
him.
the point of the game.
That's great, right? Why would you do this? It's so wrong.
The cat is a girl. You went to
You're
great
right.
pains.
You went to great lengths to establish that.
What is the likelihood that this is a thing?
This man browses Reddit.
Incredibly
Visit
unlikely.
Ye Olde Arcade for some air hockey and interview an interdimensional
Oh,
traveler.
called onism. Did you even pay attention?
These jokes aren't funny. These jokes aren't funny. You're
This
not funny at
dialogue
jokes.
is agonizing.
And it's not just the main character. I know, listen, Mr. Brian and Andrew Allenson. You've gotten a lot of shit for your main character. Terrible, yes, absolutely garbage. But the writing isn't bad just on the main character's side. The writing is bad all around. All of the characters are agonizing to listen to.
Because everything is being said by Alex.
He's talking about his actual
Yeah.
ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Oh, this is always funny. When he mentions his girlfriend, I'm like, I don't know that Alex has ever had a girlfriend. That is always my immediate go-to is like, what girlfriend? Alex. Who are you talking about? Just because I think
Alex.
it's really funny, but also,
Alex, you've
yeah.
been in a coma for 10 years.
Alex, wake up.
don't know. It's every woman character that
Did you
ends up
manage
getting
to
a
speak
portrait
with the
is gonna be based off of their fucking fantasies and shit. They're always gonna design their perfect choices of women. Ah, no one cares.
No, you
Yo,
don't know
I should
anything
ask
about-
Brian if Vela is his perfect image of a woman. I I don't know that being true.
Damn, Brian has a lot of perfect visions of a woman, then.
Some are plastic too.
Brian Allenson!
About people based on everything you've written. You've never met a person. My God, shut the fuck up! Christ! You were wearing
This
a
is the thing!
t-shirt of
Yes,
two
you're
brothers.
supposed to
You have
feel this
no
way! This
idea
is what you're
how
supposed to be thinking about, Alex!
consumed. So
You're
what
supposed to think, this guy is so unbearable! I can't,
The
like, deal with
really
him!
ironic thing about his dialogue there is he goes on about
You were wearing a t-shirt of two brothers.
self-consumed with other people. It's like he's directly criticizing himself, but he doesn't recognize it. He also goes on about, in that scene, he talks about getting lost in the humanity of it all, right? And it's like, yeah, Alex, that's not what you do. You're not caring about the human. You're doing the thing that you're you're saying, oh, yeah, people just don't see the real situation that's going on here. I can see past everything. And it's like, no, Alex, you can't.
Again, I'm gonna say it again. Very, very common ties to Chaos Child.
Hey, hold up. Let me just bring this in a little bit. What you're saying is that to continue the story, I need to grind.
Yeah.
Damn. Stopped playing. And hadn't even got to like the first boss fight. I'm sorry, Graveyard Media, but I don't think you can criticize the writing of a video game when you didn't even finish like the first dungeon. You know? Like past, you really didn't get that far into the game. You didn't get any of the payoffs for any of the writing. You just go, yeah, I don't like how this is written. I don't like dealing with this. And you said, that's it. Game's dumb. Game bad. That's the brilliant, evocative, wonderful, incredible, very good criticism of Yick by Graveyard Media. So, here we go. This video has spoilers for a bit of spoilers for Grease. If you guys haven't played that, did they ever get to the first? No. At least in that video, they never got to the first boss fight. I don't know. I don't remember if they mention it in this video because I've only watched this video. This is one of the videos I've watched the least, and it's because I'm like, I hadn't finished Grease. I still haven't finished Grease. It's really good. I just need more time and like to really immerse myself to appreciate it. So I avoid watching this video outside of the couple times I have seen it, because it has spoilers for a game, and every time I watch it, I go, okay, now I have to put off playing Grease even longer because I get, influenced by it. So we're just gonna jump into this and keep the train going.
Like in French, how it is. But Nomada is actually a Spanish company from Spain, and in Spanish they pronounce it like Grease. Like Grease. So I'm gonna say it like that. Anyway, about it, the point is that I was completely wrong. I don't really like making videos where I do nothing but shit on a bad video game, but I'm gonna do that a little bit in this one. So I guess think of this as a recommendation for Grease rather than a massive shit talk of Yick, because really, that's
I guess
what it is.
the other one
The thing that inspired
took
me
place
to make
after.
this video is that I really, really love Grease. Let me explain. When I was first looking at Grease, I talked to Dawson about it, and when I explained how it's a game about going through the stages of grief, Anyway, he said the game sounded pretentious, and that wasn't my first reaction. To me, it seemed like that's just sort of what the game was about. But pretentiousness is kind of hard to quantify. He asked what games could be considered pretentious, and why, and I was a little stumped. I thought about it for a while, and it was a tough thing to put my finger on. I could tell you what pretentiousness is. It's when something or someone thinks they're smarter or deeper than they actually are. But that's a really
Almost like that video I watched of you guys talking about Okay, I'm joking. They're jokes. I'm kidding. If you want to talk sometime, Graveyard Media, my DMs are open.
really big hole and can be interpreted a billion different ways. But then, a month after, Yick came out, pronounced Y2K. Nah, that's dumb as hell. This game's Yick. I'd heard a lot about it, and from everything I'd heard, it sounded
Yo, he
like
finally said something I agreed with. Let's just call the game Yick.
Yeah.
It has much better SEO, so it's just Yick.
Found my answer. First, let's talk about Greece really quick.
It was this Hollow Knight.
This game is absolutely beautiful. I've enjoyed my time with it.
The game is a wonderfully unique experience. The animation, the background, everything about the art is gorgeous. The music is fantastic, and the gameplay is interesting. You move a little bit slower than other platforms.
So, there's something I do want to mention about this. There is no similarity between Greece and Yick. There are two completely different styles of games, different art styles of games, two completely different genres, everything. And the stories they're telling are completely different. Why is the what's up with the comparison?
In the atmosphere, it really does help to draw you in. So from a technical standpoint, it's kind of amazing.
The ballerina,
the next most
kind of like
interesting thing
Journey.
is the setting.
Is it
Like I
Contrast?
said, it takes place in worlds that are visual metaphors.
That's the only
for
game I
five
can think of
stages
a
grief.
ballerina right
Start
off
at
the top of
denial,
my head.
dropping to the floor whenever you press a button and moving through a gray, feelingless space. After that, you move to anger with howling red winds you need to block out. Over to bargaining, where a little bit of hope shines as you feed a little guy some apples. Depression, the endless dark ocean made slightly brighter with friends. And acceptance, where your singing begins to rebuild this broken world. The visual metaphors are really clever. There was a ton of thought put into them. For instance, the black force that chases you and screams at you and seems to try to kill you can't actually physically hurt you, but it gives you a constant feeling of dread whenever it shows up. Kinda like anxiety. It says so much
Bound.
with no words, but it never breaks its bounds.
I'll have to
or
check
tries
that
to
out.
do anything outside of the one thing it's saying.
Yeah, I still like to
It's
play
about the
Greece.
5 stages of grief. It sticks to its metaphor.
Yo, it's like the 5 stages of Greece!
It's incredibly emotionally resonant. I cried at the end. I got goosebumps when I was thrown into
This
that
looks
whirl of
great.
birds,
Yeah,
and I
I'll
made a sound
definitely
like,
try this out.
"Ooh," when I escaped the eel. It was an endeavor that wanted to dig deep into one thing, and it was entirely successful. So now we get to the fun part where I shit on Yick. So I wrote all of that before I'd actually played Yick, but I'd heard from several sources that the writing was cringy and self-indulgent. So I thought it would have writing about...
Yeah, so like self-indulgent because Alex is self-indulgent, not self-indulgent because Andrew is self-indulgent. just gotta clear that up real quick.
on the same level as a David Cage game. And I feel like that's really misleading.
Hold on a goddamn second.
Stop.
Why are you going into detail about this?
This is not funny or fun.
I sighed as the elevator began to shake, vibrate.
Video essay on Yick, try not to mention the elevator line challenge very hard.
Yeah!
That
My
is 3
dude!
different words for the same
fucking
thing.
thing! Yeah, you already said that literally was
50 times.
Yeah. Oh, it's so much worse.
I don't think they understand what a narrator is.
I played this game with my writing friend Megan, and it took us an
I
hour
think
to
that's
get
a
past the
big
first
problem
dungeon
for a lot of
because
these
we
videos
spent
is they
the
just don't
entire
understand
time dissecting
a narrator.
every line. This writing isn't
Every-
bad. This writing
They dissected every line in Yick as they played through just the beginning of Yick.
An in-depth analysis on pretentiousness and Yick.
Pretentiousness. I
Wait,
understand
what do you-
everything.
What do you mean
after
there's
this
5
first
more
few
chapters?
Writing is garbage. The author, Andrew Allenson, establishes things, establishes them again, and then establishes them a third time as though they were.
Okay. He
Hey, I know
establishes-
that guy. I know Andrew.
Rules of three, right? He establishes them once, twice, 3 times. Except for all times, there's something different about those establishments. There's inconsistencies, and that's the point. You're supposed to find those inconsistencies and write them down and go, yo, so like what of these is real? What context of here is actually what's going on?
When someone plays Spirit Dreamers, I can't wait for someone to, like, notice that one of the shop signs changes at one point, and there will be like, oh, that must have been like a tile error or something.
Yeah, and then it's also this. Here you go, misgendering the cat. And it's like, no. Do you not understand that there could be something more that you're missing?
About them entirely. And he goes off on these rambling tangents that he overwrites the shit out of and that add nothing to the story. There's no sense of flow anywhere. The writing is constantly interrupted by this needless prose. There's no sense of tone. He'll info dump about something.
There's no sense of tone. And I'm like, I feel like Yick captures its tone pretty well. It might fuck around with it and go back and forth between things, but I feel like the story and atmosphere of the game is so well defined.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean it's not defined tone? The game really it captures you into this world, this dude's mind basically, and really kind of illustrates it extremely well in my opinion. Now, whether or not you find that captivating or worthwhile, that's a different story. But even to its, I would say it's oversaturated in tone, even to its detriment. It is telling you the story. It has the setting decided. It is fixated on the setting.
Entirely unrelated.
If we can pause for a sec.
Yeah.
I have to head out.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna
joining.
say thank you for having me on, Hellcry. I will be back tomorrow, assuming we're doing another chat in this server during the stream.
Yeah, we will.
Excited for all the essays to come tomorrow, especially Snakers.
I'm so excited to talk with them. It is the highlight of my week.
But yeah, thank you all for having me. Graveyard Media, if you're watching me tear your video to pieces, love ya. Maybe. I don't know. I'm sure you're fine people. It's just I kind of have
great
a bit
people.
of issue with what you say.
They didn't respond to my DM, but they're great people. I'm sure.
just want to make sure I'm looking out for my friend, you know.
Yeah.
What's a witty one-liner I can sign off with?
Hey, you should check out Spirit Dreamers.
That's not witty.
That's witty, and then you post a link in the chat. That's witty, right?
Play a Hollow Knight.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Or just pull a 180 and make it super quirky, when previously we were worried about impending doom. The writing begs you to laugh and to ponder, when, I mean, it succeeds, but you're laughing at the fact that they're messing up the most basic stuff and pondering why anyone thought this was A-okay. He's trying to be quirky, and I had thought he was going to sort of overdo
I don't
this.
really know if he's trying to be quirky. I think he's just trying to look cool. Like that's how I phrase it. Maybe I'm a bit unfair with that and kind of use that as like a blanket for a lot of character interactions. I'm like, they're trying to look cool. They're trying to appear a certain way, right? I don't think that he's, oh, I'm so quirky and nice and fun and cool. He's like, yo, yeah, all right, you know, I'm really deep and thoughtful. I know Andrew once said, like, he's an internet detective. He almost thinks that he's a film noir character, and I'm like, that's hilarious. Kind of wish we
Look-
could have leaned more into that, but you know.
Like just so he's enough like motivation to get out of bed, he has to invent an imaginary friend to go on adventures with that he uses as a tool.
Yeah. I mean, all of his friends are tools to him.
Really cringy, a lot of these do, but he does it so little, and he mixes it so much with the prose, you don't notice it half the time. And worst of all, while playing this game, we found multiple points where he could have put a funny little joke. You know what would be funny? If I went over there and I found 50 cents, but in this couch, there was like $200. This man is not nearly that clever, though. The parts that are cringy
I don't understand
aren't
that.
cringy in a this man is trying to be funny kind of way. They're cringy in
It's
a
like, wow, I'm disappointed you didn't make a joke that I just thought of right now.
okay, that's not okay kind of way. Yick is the perfect game to illustrate pretentiousness. Everything in Yick is hampered by the writer telling and not showing. The only thing I've talked about is the writing so far.
As they haven't even gotten to the first boss fight.
Yeah.
The game is all about telling and not showing, as you haven't even got to the first boss fight. You haven't gone to the second dungeon yet. You haven't even gotten a full party yet.
Is because the writing is most of the game. And if it wasn't for that, there's a lot of stuff in this game that could have been really good. Whereas Grease is able to tell by showing alone. How they use inspiration is another good indicator. In Grease, I could see a little bit of inspiration for the art may have come from Tom Moore. Anger's red on whites reminding me of the end of Secret of Kells, and the underwater caverns reminding me a little bit of Song of the Sea. But it's still very different than both of those. It's striving to be its own thing and just taking pointers. They're whispers of influence and a concert of originality. Whereas Yick is the author screaming, I want to make a game that's Earthbound mixed with Scott Pilgrim. All of Yick's ideas are ideas someone else had. And it doesn't do anything to...
He says that, but as we discussed earlier, the entire concept of the story is how Alex is a selfish piece of shit, and that he destroys everything in his life because he refuses to not be selfish. This is not a story that's typically told in video games. Like,
No.
we don't get this experience. And, like, okay, sure, you know, that might be common in books or movies or whatever, but it's not common in video games. We don't have it on this level. So it's like, when you go, oh, it's something somebody else has already done. It's like, well, maybe aspects of it are, sure. But the entire package isn't. The entire package comes out to something original. You just missed it. You missed it because you thought all the lines were ridiculous and bad, and instead of looking at them at face value and assessing why there might be something else going on.
Like I was pretty caught off guard. Like when we get out of the sewer dungeon and like Alex kind of freaks out on Rory, I didn't expect that. Like that's the exact point in the story where I thought, oh, this is probably going to get more normal in terms of its writing, and then it took a
and it takes a nose turn, and it's like, no, you don't understand. This dude's a piece of shit. You and like even in that moment, it takes a lot for somebody to really understand how much Alex is a piece of shit. And even in that moment, I don't want to get into the Golden Alpaca stuff yet. I'll get into that when there's actually a video that explains it or goes over it, because part of me is like, these people don't deserve me to explain the Golden Alpaca to them. They didn't even get that far. They don't even know what we're talking about when it comes to that stuff unless they've seen some video about it later. So, like, no. You haven't even gotten to the point where anything meaningful, like really, truly meaningful happens, and you go, yeah, it's just all the same shit. There was a tutorial, you know. I did the tutorial. Every game's got a tutorial. Like, this isn't new. That's like not even finishing the first ending of Nier and going, yeah, I mean, it's just a story. You kill some guys and that's it. Yeah, sure, the characters are fun, but it doesn't do anything new. There isn't anything interesting.
to really improve upon them. If anything, it makes them slightly worse. The combat is an interesting idea, but it gets really boring when the record starts really slow and it takes a while to do your attack. I would rather have regular turn-based combat than this. And these comparisons bring me to the thesis of the whole thing, the absolute definition of pretentiousness that I arrived at. They put probably years of work into this because they thought they were creating a brilliant, evocative art piece that would pay wonderful homage to the games of the past. Andrew probably thought his writing would improve upon it, that his prose would be adored and hailed as a step forward for the medium of video games.
I can tell you this right away. Andrew has been critical of the writing of the game since he wrote it.
Yeah.
He thinks it's fucking garbage. No, I'm exaggerating. He does not. He thinks that there's a lot of problems within the story. He does not think it's this deep, meaningful thing. He's like, I tried to tell a story that was really important to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's something I felt was a really interesting, really important story. But I don't. He doesn't have delusions of grandeur about it. He's kind of like really down to earth about it, where he's like, yo, maybe it is bad, but some people seem to like it, so I guess that's good enough.
Yeah, that and the fact that he's willing to like completely replace like the golden alpaca and add new story content.
Oh, yeah.
That just shows he's willing to grow as a writer and work on it more.
Well, and as I explained in the video, they wrote all of it at the beginning of development and had been basically stuck to the script since the beginning of their development. And that doesn't give them a lot of room to kind of move around. Like,
yeah.
You could play with it a little bit, but like whenever you realize, oh, this doesn't really work, you either have that in there or you don't. You either cut it or you have it in there and it's like a little flawed. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't go into an indie RPG expecting it to be the most profound thing ever. I'm just expecting a game that a few people worked on and might be something they cared about.
See, that to me though, like that, I think that was a lot of people's expectations because I myself like have sort of like not been into like AAA games as much because I played like stuff like Undertale and I'm like, oh, this has got like stuff going on. I didn't, it doesn't have like the vibe of a AAA game, so indies kind of have this like. I don't know how to explain it. They have this thing where like you go into it and you expect it to be like this passion project that's like really deep and really well written sometimes.
Yeah, I can agree with that, and I know why people like look at indies for that kind of thing. I don't think it's a reasonable thing to expect out of anyone.
I just think it might have been bad timing because like this game and Undertale both have like heavy Earthbound influences, and Undertale came out first.
Yeah. I think the way people should look at indie games is, hey, here's this game that's made by a few people that they care about. Like, the game is going to be something they're passionate about in some way. And like going to the other extreme and saying they're really trying something here. And it's like, no, it doesn't mean that they're really trying something here. It can just mean they had an experiment they wanted to do. Oh, this might be interesting. Let me try that out. And that's what I go to indie games for. I go to indie games for something different. Because I can go buy Call of Duty right now and I know exactly what I'm going to get, right? I could buy the next Assassin's Creed and I know pretty much what I'm going to get. Even Zelda, I know what a Zelda game's going to be like. But I go and see an indie RPG and like, okay, it could be Omori, where it's this really evocative, story about depression and whatever, where it's trying to tell something meaningful from the artist's perspective. Or it could be like Undertale, where it's this concept of, hey, what if like Shin Megami Tensei had bullet hell mechanics? And it's like, yeah, that's interesting. And I think it's ridiculous to think all of them should be the same in like direction. that they should all be this, or they're all pining for the same, hey, I'm making the next great American novel.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
And they thought all this would just work without putting in any work or any thought. And that is the kicker. All of this confidence was unearned, and they shouldn't have released it without at least someone doing a few proofreading runs. It's like he's never talked to anyone who's ever written anything before, but still assumes he's got it down pat because he got an A in his AP English class. I don't know why the game relies on the writing so much. Andrew Allenson, so far as I can tell, is a musician and sound designer, but the game leans on the writing like it was written by a famous author, whereas all of the confidence of Greece is earned. A lot of these guys are professional artists from outside of the medium who came together. Conrad Rose, who
Being a professional in something doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, no.
Being a professional means you've gotten paid to do your work, which I've gotten paid to do a lot of work that I'm bad at throughout my life. I just don't think that's a really fair thing. And then this even feeds into the idea of the video games aren't art. You go, I love this beautiful painting, but this picture my 3-year-old drew, it's not great. It's like, no. Art is extremely subjective. You can't compare things like that. You can't compare people who've been in industry doing 2D animation for years of their life to somebody who just made their first 3D game. Not even to even to go in and be like, hey, it's visual. If Yik was 2D, I could see the comparison more. If Yik was done by some artist that had been established, sure. But this is their first 3D game, and you're comparing it to something who has had a history of 2D work and going, yes, these should be comparable. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
who drew these is one of them. He was one of the founding members of the company. I mean, it was founded when he met with 2 AAA game devs about making art for video games. This was a team of professionals who had earned their confidence over years of work, and who also double-checked each other's work. And it shows. Everything feels like it was thought to death in Greece, while nothing feels really thought out in Yik. Each of the stages in Greece have imagery that fits perfectly with its stage of grief, without having a large sign that reads depression, a la Yik's overwriting. The music was tailor-made for every event in Greece, driving home the tone with force. No moment in Yik made me feel anything like this moment in Greece.
That's because you played the whole game, and the other game you didn't even finish the beginning segment of. I'm just gonna let you know that right now. Not to say that there's deeply profound moments in Yik. There's a few that are iconic moments that you might feel something or you might think are kind of silly, but you're comparing something when you don't even know the content of the rest of the other thing.
And the art was made with such passion and care that you would be hard-pressed not to be blown away. Greece is the beautiful, emotionally resonant, brilliant, and artistic game the Yik men thought they were making, but that they didn't have the talent, the patience, or the understanding of any...
The game took 5 years. I think they had plenty of patience. All right. Yeah. So I could just let the rest of this video play out. It's a ridiculous comparison. It makes no sense under any amount of scrutiny. And it really was just a video to go, I really like Grease. And then go, hee hee, Yik bad. And that's not criticism. That's not even, that's not saying anything about Yik, because none of the comparisons you're making are even close to fair or equal in any way. It's absurd, and to even assert that the person or that Andrew is super pretentious and they think all these things is fan fiction. there's nothing, Android hasn't gone on some interview and gone on about how, oh, nobody gets my game. No, he complained about how people just hated it for weird reasons.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that's how Graveyard Media was wrong about Yick. There's more videos. There'll be more videos. This will probably be in a playlist too. All that fun stuff.